So it's a rainy day here, and rather than spin spanners, I thought we'd play with the injector machine. So got a whole batch of injectors here to test. They're all from L67 applications, so that's the Holden L67 supercharged V6. In Australia they were used from 1996 in the VS Commodore, only in the Calais, all the way through to 2004 in the VY Commodore. So on the left here we've got some stock 36-pound injectors, pretty grotty. They've been sitting around in a mate's garage for a long time, and thought we'll give them a run and see what they're like. So let's see what injectors are like when they've just been sitting around with old fuel in there for ages. We also have a set of apparently stock L67 injectors. So these should look like these ones, but they don't. They're a bit more creamy coloured, so they don't look stock to start with, and they're actually not. So they were passed to me to test as stock L67 injectors. If we get in here, you can see that where the Bosch part number normally is on this pad has been ground off. And you can also see, focused in, also see that there's a Ford symbol on there. So let's zoom in. So hopefully you can see that. These are Ford injectors. So they're definitely not L67 injectors. They're not, well, they probably are Bosch, but they're not standard L67 ones. Also got some mystery Siemens 80-pound injectors, which was sitting in my parts pile, so we'll give them a run. And mounted up on the machine, we have brand new Bosch 42-pound injecters, and we'll see how they run. These are part number 0280 155 968, also known as 44cc per minute injectors. They are commonly used here on Ford Falcons, Holden Commodores, the 6-cylinders, V6 Ecotechs, Buicks, L67s, as a common upgrade, particularly when you're going for a cam, boost, and all the rest. So these particular ones were brand new, genuine ones from a mate of mine. And apparently the car doesn't idle. So is it the injectors? Is it the tune? Is it just because the owner's a bit of a nightmare? Let's have a look at just the injectors here and see if they're an issue. These injectors were just purchased as 6 of. They're not part of a match set or anything like that. So let's also have a look and see how bad is it if you just buy 6 injectors. And do you need to buy them matched? And what can happen if you don't? First protocol before we get stuck in is we're going to measure the injector's resistance. So this is the coil resistance that activates the injector. Let's see if I can do this single-handed. So you can see the multimeters down there. Got the probe here, one terminal, the other terminal, and we've got 12.5 ohms, 12.6 ohms. 12.4, 12.3. Slipped off. And so the trick here is also to let it stabilize. So we've got 12.4 ohms on the second injector. And if nothing else, there's a good reason to skill up on your chopstick skills, because then you can do stuff like this single-handed. So we'll check all the rest of them and make sure they're all within range, and then get on to flow testing. So we've got the machine set for 750 RPM with a 3 millisecond pulse, and to run that for 5 minutes. So the 750 RPM basically will control how long the injectors wait between pulses, if it was sequential. And we will have the fuel pressure set for what it would normally run in the L67, which is 53 psi or 3.5 bar. Well, let's get this cranking and have a look. And we're off. Fuel pressure wise, we're at 52, which is 3.5 bar. So that line there's 3, that's 4, and that's 3.5. Okay, so 5 minutes is up and we're having a look. Looking square on, and it all looks pretty even. So you can see there's a little bit of a difference here. So we've got 28 mils there, probably closer to 29, 30, not quite 30, so it's 29 mils, between 28, 29. A little bit of difference, of course, and that's going to multiply the longer we run the test. And if we run that for quite a bit of time, we'll probably see a larger difference as we get to more volume. Having said that, it all looks pretty good. So injector 1 is low, but pretty much the same as 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're all pretty even. If anything, injector 2 is probably flowing just a fraction more. Let's see how they flow at max opening time. On to full flow. So this will hold the injector fully open and do that for 10 seconds. That's probably fair enough. And same fuel pressure of 52 psi or 3.5 bar. Let's go. We're off. Fuel pressure's right, and there we go. So we've come in cylinder 1, or injector 1 I should say, at about 63 or so mils. And 63. 63, 63, 63, 63 or 64, close enough. And 63, 64. That's flat out. They're all running pretty even. Let's do one more test around, say, a mid run and see how it goes. Okay, we've got 10 millisecond pulse width and we're going to run it 240 times at the same fuel pressure. Let's go. Running, and you see we're counting up. Okay, so we got about 14 mils, all pretty even. Nothing wrong with these injectors. So there we are. It's not because of the injectors. The injectors are working pretty good. Even flow, both flat out as well as idling and mid-range. So move on to testing something else on his car. As for the injectors, if you're buying good quality injectors from a reputable source, then I think they flow pretty good and very even. So there we are. Don't always need to buy matched injectors, but matched injectors eliminate any of those variabilities. And there we are. Here they are, all cleaned up. There's 5 of them here because the other one's been cleaned and is already on the machine. Just a bit of a spray down with degreaser and a light brush, and they've all come up pretty good. They were a cream colour from standard, and you can see, of course, down here they've discoloured with the heat of the cylinder head. These mount on an L67, they mount directly into the cylinder head, and that's of course discoloured the white plastic, but nothing to complain about there. This one here had something a bit more nefarious on it. It's kind of gunky, but it's not, doesn't rub off anything. You probably could clean it up by scraping it off. Not going to bother. Let's just get these mounted and see what they flow. Locked and loaded. So these are Bosch part number 0280, 155, 811. I think they're also the same as part number ending in 868. So they're meant to flow 347 cc's per minute at 3 bar. I've got the machine set to 3 bar, so it's comparable. Let's go. And there we go again. There's the first straight shooter. This will be interesting to see. They wouldn't have been run in at least 7-8 years and just sitting around in a garage filled with old fuel and all the rest. So let's see if they're even and if they flow what the spec says. So we got 52 to 54. 54. 54. 54. Yep. Pretty impressed. They're all even. And 54. So very nice and even at flat out. And 54 cc's in 10 seconds is 324 cc's. So they're probably about 7% down on what they're specified to be, but they're nice and even. So that's I'd call that a win. Let's go through and check them at an idle pulse and see how they go. All set up for an idle pulse. Here we go. Look at that. That's the injector dance. Couple more minutes to go. Okay, they're all done, and there's the result. So we've got just on 22 across the board, pretty even. We'll test it at mid-flow, but I'd call them pretty good. 10 millisecond pulse, 240 pulses. Let's go. Counting down. Should say counting up actually. And didn't quite make it to 10 cc's. Well, I think it probably is about 10 cc's. All even. Those injectors are good. Okay, so let's look at the supposed stock injectors. Let's put them side by side. This one here is the injector that's meant to be stock, and you can see no markings. And when I say stock, I mean stock L67. Ford logo on there, no markings on the body. It probably has been reconditioned. You can see down here, it's nice and clean. Put those over there. That's that one, that's a stock L67 one. And you can see they are different. Right hand side is a factory L67 injector, and you can see that they have this groove here for the injector retaining clip. This one doesn't have any. Of course, there's the part number. So this part number here is the Bosch part number, 0280, 155, 811, and ground off on this injector. Turn them around to the other side. Again, you can see that there's no injector clip retaining groove up here. Here, and this pad, you've got Ford written in there, nothing here. over down through here you've got the GM part number, and over here part number ground off. And down here, this section of the injector body is steel and this one is plastic. So let's get these ones into the machine and see what they actually flow. On the machine, let's have a look at the resistance first up. So I'll get in here. Oh, a bit high, 14.9. Can check the next one. $15, 14.9. The next one. 15.2, 15.1. Check this one. Oh. The spec for the factory L67 injector and the Bosch 42-pound injector is 12.5, so these are pretty significantly different. 15, and lucky last. I can get on there. Single-handed, starting to get a cramp. Nope. There we are. 15.2, 15.6. It's pretty high. Don't like the look of that too much. Let's get it hooked up and see what they flow. You know what they say when you start seeing things that don't add up, then it causes you to look even closer and closer. Well, I think that's what we're going to do here. So first up, we had the appearance. They weren't what they said they were meant to be. Injector numbers were ground off. So let's start with a leakage test. So this puts pressure in for a period of time. In this case, it's 1 minute. And we'll see if there's any dribbling or leakage from the injectors. So off we go. Start that up. Put the fuel pressure up. So that's 3 bar. And not a drop. We'll put that up. So that's 4, 5 bar, nothing. And go to 6 bar, nothing. I'll call that good. Bring it down to, let's call it 5 bar. Doing a full formal test, sometimes they'll push them right up to 8 bar, 10 bar and see how they hold up. I won't do that here. It's not really necessary. We're just playing around with the injectors. But what you will find though is if you do have manifold pressure and you're running a vacuum referenced or boost referenced fuel pressure regulator, you will see pressure on the fuel injector or across the fuel injector that's going to be at the reference pressure, so 4 bar, 3.5 bar, whatever you set it to. But the absolute pressure across there is going to be a lot higher. So if you had a manifold boost pressure of say 20 psi, you've got 20 psi on one side of the injector, and say you want 60 psi fuel pressure, you'll need 80 psi on the other side of the injector to give you a 60 psi differential across the injector. So there is some validity in testing the injector up at higher pressures for leakage and performance. In this case, it's passed the leak test, or as far as we're going to do it today. Let's go on and see what they flow flat out. There we go. We'll just start it off first up and make sure we've got the fuel pressure set about right. So that is firing at 3 bar. It's not actually the one I wanted. Test. I want it constant. There we go. We know the fuel pressure is right though, so let's give it a go. So as the injector is spraying, we have 3 bar fuel pressure. Now you can see these ones here. Oh, that one's not working. Injector 2 seems to be jammed. We'll let that run out. Injector 3 is running. So these are pretty close to the standard L67 injector in terms of straight out flow as well as the pattern. It's a single jet. These ones flow a little bit less than the actual factory L67 injector. But for flat out flow they're about close, apart from the fact that one of the injectors just isn't working. Not very even, so injector 1 is 50 cc's, injector 3 is 48, injector 4 is 52, got 50 and 49 or so, but we're being a bit fussy there. So that's interesting. One of these injectors doesn't work, so I'll give it a bit of a tap. See if it starts working. Nothing. Nada. Well, let's have a look at the first injector. So we've run it twice and we have about 97. That's pretty close. Those all look to be coming out pretty close as well. Oh, that one's flowed a lot more. 97 on this one. 98 or so on that one. 97 on that one. That's a bit of an anomaly. Very good. We'll run one more for good luck. Still dead. Oh, that one didn't actually drain. Pretty similar to what it was flying before. A little bit less than 50 at 48. So the other thing to notice is that the spray pattern's all a bit all over the place. So this one here is shooting mostly straight down. That one there was fired back against the back wall of the tube. This one is mostly straight down. I wonder if these have been decapped or something. This one is spraying mostly straight down. Still got one dead. Well, for completeness, let's go and see how they perform at idle. Turning down. So how are they looking so far? Don't look too bad actually. Relatively even for what they are. But yeah, there's still one dead one. Okay, I just reran the idle test again because the fuel pressure was slightly off so that it's comparable to the other injectors. And we are about 12. So at idle speeds they flow more than the factory L67 injectors we just tested. Let's have a look at mid-flow. And we're off. The injector's still not flowing. 240 and just on 10 mil. So I'd say in terms of flow, they're pretty close to the stock ones. We just have that one marked with an X, that's no good. Okay, I'm just going to give this particular one a reverse flush and see if I can free it up. But to do that, you have to use this adapter loom because the solid connector hanging off the end there won't reach, or a standoff so that there's enough vertical room here for that plug. Got it set to reverse flush. Let's go. Just a little bit flowing through there. Bit of a dribble. The others, of course, are just running in a standard direction. Starting to get more of a dribble coming through that one. It's actually firing. Yeah. More seconds. Okay, let's flip them back, see how they flow. It's actually not too bad in reverse flow. We've got them all hooked up again, flowing the right way. Fuel pressure set. Let's go. So again, we're at 3 bar. Number 1, flying pretty good. Same as before, to be expected. Oh, look at that. It's back. Let's see what it flows. That's pretty close. I think we freed that one up. So it just goes to show, sometimes these old injectors, you got to test them. If you just thrown that straight in the car, you would have had a massive misfire, lean cylinder, and basically no fuel going out, so rough running. But with a bit of reverse flush, it's really only just one cycle of a minute reverse flush and it's come good again. Flow wise, pretty close. I think we saved this set. Don't know what you'd want to use it in, but there we go. They're all flowing and they're all pretty even.